Welcome to Straight Out of Savannah, Talking with Tammi, a podcast that showcases people you may not know who are choosing to use their gifts to inspire and move the planet.
Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Out of Savannah. I am super excited. I have a guest here that's going to knock your socks off. So Jean Border is here with me today, and she's going to tell you a little bit about who she is and what it is that she does. So Jean, take it away.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, I am Jean Border. A little bit about me is I'm a military brat. My dad was Air Force. So I went to 10 schools before I ever graduated from high school. I traveled all over the place because that's what you do when you're a military family. My dad retired, stayed in one place. I went stir crazy, knew I'd have to get a job that I could travel the world and somebody else would pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I spent 36 years in a career that allowed me to travel all over. I developed a lot of leadership skills in that. Had a blast going to different countries, and I went to all 50 states. Been through all 50 states, two
Nice.
territories, Puerto Rico and Guam. I lived in Italy. I lived in Germany. I traveled all over Europe, some Africa, some Southwest Asia. I've been to Antarctica. I have been to Australia. Yeah.
So which did you like the best?
It's hard to say. As far as places that I felt really drawn to are places with a lot of natural majesty. Mm-hmm. Austria, I loved Austria. It was so clean and so pristine, and the mountains and the grandeur everywhere. And Alaska, same thing. Everywhere you go, there's just something so amazing that catches your eye.
Yes.
As far as where I'd want to live in Key West, I think. I'm drawn to Key West from the energy that's there, you know?
Okay.
I've been there so many times, but I never have actually made a move to live there. So maybe I'm just supposed to visit, you know?
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah. So after 36 years, I walked away from that to take care of my elderly father. Mm-hmm. But the last, I'm going to say 20 years of my career, I had been dabbling in what I'm going to call the energy world.
Yes.
In the early 2000s, there was a guy named Gary Craig, who was the creator of what was called the Emotional Freedom Technique, or EFT,
yes,
which now you may hear called EFT tapping.
Yes.
I learned this technique that he was doing where you just touch these places on your body.
Yes.
And things change in your life. And it was amazing to me. I went to one of his weekend seminars where it was an advanced weekend deal on working with serious health issues.
Yes.
And it was really amazing to see. The reason I started into that field is because I'd had migraines since I was tiny. And I'd been to all the neurologists, all the doctors. I was one of those kids in school who could pop aspirin dry. I don't know if you remember those days when kids were allowed to actually have their own medication with them. Yes. I'd sit in a class with no water because you couldn't leave and go to the drinking fountain all the time just to take a headache pill.
Right.
So I would pop like 3 aspirins. You try doing that without any coating on them, okay? And as that is sticking in your throat, you learn how to get moisture in your mouth. It sounds really weird, but you learn how to get moisture in your mouth so you can swallow these pills that they don't get stuck. But the neurologist could tell me I had peaks and valleys in my brain waves that shouldn't be there, but they didn't know why. They didn't know how to fix it. They would just give me pills.
Yeah.
Eventually it got to the place where I was giving myself shots.
Mm.
And yes, I overdosed on them once because the headache was so bad and the shots weren't helping. So I took another one.
Yes.
Not a good idea.
Right.
But anyway,
I
that's why I
understand
got
all
into
of that.
this. Yeah, that's why I got into this energy world, was to try to get rid of my migraines that the medical profession, wash their hands of. Really, they just give you a Band-Aid and say, deal with the symptoms,
They do that with a lot of things,
Yeah.
especially more so now.
Yeah. Now that they have protocols that everybody has to follow a protocol, even if they know these few things won't work, you've got to go
Yes.
through these few things to get to the one that is going to actually solve, well, anyway.
Yes, absolutely.
My soapbox. I'll get off it now.
Yeah, no, I know it well.
Yeah.
Very in tune to that. Yes, it's like, oh my God. What? No, I told you I wasn't. No. Oh, but
Yep.
you got to check this box and that box. Yeah.
That's one of the things that really irritates me about I'll call it traditional medicine,
Mm-hmm.
is they treat everyone like everyone is the same. And none of us are the same.
No.
Yes, we have a physical body, and most of them have 2 arms and 2 legs, not all, right?
Right.
But we all have different body chemistry, and medications are based off your body chemistry. And if yours is different than mine, the pills may react differently. My brother and I could take the same pill. He'd be hyper and I'd be almost sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
But it's the same pill, and it should theoretically work the same way with everybody.
Yes.
It doesn't.
No.
There used to be a medication, over-the-counter medication called Cold Max that I loved because it would make me higher than a kite and I could function with a cold. It would put my brother to sleep, so he couldn't take it. But I loved it, and it's no longer available, of course, because,
Well, because it worked.
Yeah. Probably didn't have a big enough profit margin.
They're saying they couldn't make enough money off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I followed the energy work even while I was working my real job. And eventually I became certified in multiple modalities. And when I didn't have to, I made a decision to leave my job, career, whatever, to come and help my dad. I began growing my energy business where I help other people because my migraines are gone. After decades and decades. Oh, you'll probably outgrow it by the time you hit 20. Oh, you'll probably outgrow it by the time you hit 40. Oh, you'll probably outgrow it by the time you hit. No, if you haven't outgrown it in 40 years, you're not going to outgrow it. I'm sorry, you're just not. I know that's what they teach you to say to make your patient feel better, like there's some hope. But outgrowing it is not the issue. It's really not. There's something that's triggering your body to give you a symptom that you'll pay attention to, so you will address the underlying cause, not give it a pill to mask the pain so it has to show up another way. Because if you deaden one symptom, your body's going to find another way to get your attention, which means now you've got 2 symptoms going. But not only that, you've got medication on this one, so that's messing up your body chemistry, right?
Right.
So you're going to get another medication, and that might create another symptom. So now you've got medication plus 2 active symptoms. So you've got to get a medication for the side effect of that one. Yeah. It's just a snowball effect. Yeah.
It's a never-ending story.
Yeah.
It just keeps going on and on and on.
Yeah. So with the energy work, the mantra is anything can cause anything. Just because something caused you to have a headache doesn't mean the same thing is going to show up the same way in me.
Right.
If that specific stress causes you to have a migraine, maybe that stress might cause me to have pain in my knee.
Right.
And the pain in my knee might be there to keep me from moving forward because the subconscious thinks it's not a safe thing to do. Yes. Right? The body gives you all kinds of signals if you pay attention.
Yes.
A very obvious one is I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Okay. I had a frozen shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
earlier this year. And that was one of the things when I was doing the research. That was one of the things, or like you feel like you're carrying, the weight of the world, or are you feeling stuck? That kind of thing. Because this thing, that was the worst pain I ever felt in my entire life, in all of my years, even babies. This thing, yeah,
Common
and that was what it was.
sayings become common for a reason.
Yeah,
Because they resonate. You're somewhere inside, you understand that that's true.
yeah,
right?
yes,
If you're having issues with your feet or your knees, there is a chance, I'm going to say a fairly good chance,
yes,
that there's some reason why your body is trying to keep you in a certain place to keep you from being unsafe. Because the subconscious looks at everything through the filter of keeping you alive. So
yes,
is this safe? Right?
yes,
Its only job is to keep you alive.
yeah,
So if it knows that you're not doing great, but you're okay in this space, then I'm just going to maybe help keep you here, because the unknown is really a dangerous place, right?
yes,
So we want to, from the energy world, we want you to be able to look at it from a caution point of view, yellow light instead of red light, right?
yes, yes,
And make a conscious choice so that the subconscious understands, no, it's okay. Let me just try a little bit. And if that's okay, I'll try a little bit. It's not just stop or go. There's an
yes,
in-between place, right?
yes,
So that's what energy work does. We look back at, well, why? One of the very first things we can test with people that are actually having physical symptoms or chronic illness things, and they've been to the doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I am not. I'm saying that up front. I never interfere with anything a patient and a doctor decide on. But sometimes people come to me after they've tried all that and they're on all these medications,
yes,
and they still have no relief, and it's just their world is shrinking.
yes,
right?
absolutely, yes,
And so we go into, what the heck is the root cause of this stuff? I don't care about all the symptoms. I want to know the cause of why you're experiencing all these symptoms.
yes, the solution.
Yeah, and
Yes.
anything can cause anything.
Yes,
For me, with my migraines, I told you I was an Air Force brat. My dad was on flying status his whole career. So he'd be home and then he'd leave, and he'd be home and he'd leave, and he'd be home and he'd leave. And so the more of these events that I released, the emotions that I'd held on to without even realizing it.
yes,
One day I just realized I wasn't leaving work early and going and putting myself in a dark room and with no noise and giving myself a shot and throwing up, from
yes,
the pain.
yes.
And they just went away. That was after 3 months of working on it. One day I just realized,
Wait,
they're not here.
I
Yeah,
know. Like, wait.
yeah. And it's amazing. It just falls away.
Yeah.
It's
And that,
amazing.
do you believe that can happen with anything?
I've seen it happen with anything. One of the girls that I worked with, she had masses all over.
Oh,
And we
wow.
did less than 10 sessions. She went in for her mammogram, nothing there, completely clean. I work with people with tumors. I'm not a medical professional. We don't do anything except deal with whatever emotional stuff is underneath.
Yes.
The body gets out of balance, right?
Yes. Yes.
You've got a musical symbol behind you, so I'm going to use a musical story.
Yes.
You listen to your favorite song on the radio, and you're jamming along with it, and it's crystal clear, and you're loving it. Yeah. And then you go around this area where apparently there aren't any towers, or the signal got blocked, and it's getting scratchy, and it's getting going in and out and in and out and in and out. That's what happens with your body. The more you of this imbalancing energy that you hold on to, these emotions that you have that don't process out because you're experiencing maybe too many at once, and
Yeah,
your body can only handle so much. So it says, let's release this and I'll hold on to the rest and we'll deal with it later. Only it never does.
right.
And so the static gets worse,
Mm,
right? And you
yeah.
start to lose the pure, perfect sound that you had, and you start to lose the enjoyment of the song.
Yeah, because you can't hear it, right?
And pretty soon you can't hear it. And then you hit a tower and it comes back. That's what energy work does.
Oh, I love that.
That's what energy work does.
Yeah.
It releases all those imbalances. It takes out all that static from the
Mhm.
song and puts you back on your, I'm going to use an energy term. I try to speak English instead of energy, but or since we're talking music, frequency, it takes you
Yes.
back to your frequency,
Yes.
right? On the radio, the dial, or the little numbers you see, 104.7, 98.7, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
That's a frequency for the radio. You have your own frequency,
Mm,
and we just need to get you
yes.
back there so that you have your perfect sound and you feel like you again.
I love that. That's phenomenal. And the thing I like about energy work is it's so vast and varied. So many different modalities and so many different things. And it seems like every day there's a new one or
Yeah,
something else emerging.
and I think energy workers are curious anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd have to be to buck traditional medicine,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And people just think I'm weird, and that's just how it is. I don't push my beliefs on anybody, and
No.
when if they become ready, I'm happy to work with anybody. But if they're not ready, it's not a good fit.
Absolutely.
People come to me, oh, but can you work on this person? I'm like, well, they're just going to recreate it. If they're not interested,
Yeah.
if they're not open to change, sometimes it's going to sound weird too. Sometimes people's identity gets wrapped up in their illness. Have you ever heard that?
I actually a friend of mine and I just actually had that discussion. We were talking about that last night. It was, yeah, yeah, because people they especially nowadays, everybody is so caught up in labels and they want to label everything. So you want to be,
Exactly.
it's got to have a label, and it's like even I think about autism. That was the thing that comes to me. Okay, so back in the day when I was going to school and probably you were going to school, there were kids that were different.
Mm-hmm.
And we all knew that they were just different.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody put a label on them and they said, oh, well, they can't do that or whatever. They just taught them how they learned.
Yep.
But now it's like everything is a label. Oh, well, because like I had a situation with my grandson. I said, he's a 12-year-old boy. They're going through changes, hormones,
Big time.
yeah. I was like going
Big
from,
time.
middle, elementary to middle and all these things. I said, it's natural and normal and it happens to most kids. I would say 99% of them, so, but of course then, but they got to get a label, so that, yeah.
Yeah, it can be difficult. And that's one reason why I'm very insistent that the person has to want to work with me. I'm not
Yeah.
going to work on somebody who doesn't want it.
Well, you
Because
can't.
when people's identity is wrapped up in something, the thought of change, even for the better, can put them in a panic.
Yeah.
And sometimes the body, like I mentioned, it keeps piling things on and piling more symptoms on.
Yeah.
And sometimes the person actually gets a benefit from that, even though that sounds weird.
No,
Because when they take
exactly.
on just so much and the body says, if you won't stop, I'll stop you.
Yes.
And so it gives you symptoms to the point where you can't take on anything else and you can't function. And now you have to allow somebody to help you when you wouldn't before.
That's exactly what happened to me. I know it well.
We want to be super person, right? We want to do everything. We don't want anybody to have to do anything for us. That's not the way the human being is created to function. We're
Right.
created to function almost like interdependently, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that we have people we feel comfortable with, places we feel comfortable being in,
Yes.
animals we feel comfortable being around, right?
Yes. Yes.
But all those assume that there is some kind of a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's healthy or unhealthy. And sometimes we get to the point of wanting to do everything for everybody, and it becomes unhealthy for us. Even if you think it's a help for them, maybe it's not a help for them if you're doing too much for them, because
Yes.
they have a journey in this life.
Yes.
They have things they're supposed to learn, things
Yes.
that they're supposed to become independent
Yes.
in some ways,
Yes.
not totally cut off, but a separate being,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So we have to recognize that other people have a journey as well
Yes. I
and
think
honor
that,
that.
yes, I think that that is so important for all of those type of relationships. And I see a lot of times that mothers have those type of issues with their kids. They're growing up, and all that, and they don't want to let them go, and some don't give them the tools that they need in order to survive on their own. And so the kids end up being codependent, for lack of a better word, instead of interdependent. And when I see it, I recognize it. But like you, if they're not ready to deal with it, it's not my business.
Yep. Yep.
But it happens so much. And I've seen it, I guess now that my kids are older, and grown and gone and doing their thing, they live in 3 different states. So, but that was how I raised them, that at some point they were going to have to be independent. They could not live with me all their life. It's just not going to happen. That's not something that I prepared them for. But I noticed that there are so many out here that, they're not prepared. And so, they're like, oh, well, I got to do this for my son. And I'm like, well, wait, ain't he like 25? And I feel like it's the same way in energy work. If you're not ready to heal and you're not wanting it actually and want to do the work, because that I notice is a thing too, because I know a lot of people, they grew up watching Bewitched, or what's the other one? Genie. And so they think that, we're in the energy world, we can just fix it.
And sometimes we can. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's one session and done. But by the time something gets to be a chronic issue,
Mm-hmm.
it's typically not one session and done.
Oh, no, sure it is. You can fix them in one session, can't you, G?
Well, I have, but that doesn't mean I expect you always go in expecting miracles with every session. That's what an energy healer does. You go in expecting miracles with every session.
Yeah.
And sometimes the miracle is a very small shift, but that small shift impacts so many areas of their life that it is a big miracle.
Yes, yes. And that part is the part I think that geeks me out, because it's like, and it's so many times you feel like it's so easy. It's something that's just like that, but they don't feel like that. They feel like it's this big mountain, but it's a molehill,
Mm-hmm.
and do you have times where you have people that come to you that, it's a molehill, but they think it's this huge mountain?
Well, they always do, because they're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So they're seeing it from down in here, and I'm looking at it from the outside looking in. So of course everything we have different points of view, different perspectives, right?
Yes.
When you're in anything, you can't see all the factors, because all you see is what's right in front of you. It's like you can't see the forest because of the tree in front of you, right?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Because as I was going through my process, where I just kept getting sick, like every month something, and I've never ever really been really sickly. I've only ever had like female issues, and had C-sections with babies and stuff, but so I never was really sick, and I just started getting sick month after month. Looks like when I fixed one thing, something else happened, and then the frozen shoulder, and and then after that I was like, okay, all right, I'm listening. I'm listening. I was talking to spirit. I'm listening. I'm listening. And then I got the COVID thing. And I hadn't had COVID, since it started. I got it last June. And it was easy. It was nothing to the COVID at that time. Like it was basically like a bad cold. I had a sinus infection that was worse than that. But then I started getting the after symptoms, and then I started looking at, the energy around all of it. And then I started realizing, and then of course because I am a person that typically has to be, smacked upside the head, I got smacked upside the head. So I had to start really paying attention. You know what I mean? And it was like, and I had learned how to push my body for so many decades, so many years, just push, push, push. And I realized that that was something that, it was time for me to let go of. But for me, it was really difficult. So I can understand when you work with people and they have these beliefs because, we all have them. And they don't, they want to hold on to them, even regardless of what you're telling them and what you're showing them. They want to hold on to them. So I can definitely understand that, but like you said, if they're not ready, they're not gonna invest, they're not gonna do the work. And for me, I had a good friend that told me one day, we were talking, and she said, you need to let somebody help you. And at first I was like, my Willis. But she introduced me to a beautiful healer, because she's a healer as well, but we're close. So we didn't want to do that. And so she introduced me to a healer as well. And this girl did, she helped me with a couple of different sessions, and it was amazing. And I loved it. Distant sessions, it was great. And I was so grateful, that I actually, took her up and said, okay, yes, you're right. Because, as healers, you think, okay, I can do this, because I'm studied, and I have all these modalities under my belt, and, I can do that. I'm a Reiki master and this and that and all these things. And then, you realize that you're dealing with yourself, and you're the person that needs somebody on the outside looking in.
I'm laughing because, yeah, I'm one of those who can do everything themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I occasionally do have something going on, even though I'm very close with several healers, you think I would actually ask for somebody to work on me? They have to see that I'm, and then almost like force it on me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can't work on yourself a lot of times because your subconscious is trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So if there's something painful underneath all that stuff, it doesn't want you to realize it. It's keeping it blocked out, right?
Yes.
And maybe you don't need to relive it. You just need to release it.
Yes.
That's all. You just need to let it go.
Yes.
But the subconscious doesn't think that way. It just thinks of protecting you.
Yeah.
So it's going to protect you by not bringing that up, so you don't work on it, because it doesn't want to make you feel bad,
Yes. Yes.
So,
And it's go ahead.
So the easy stuff comes to the surface, and you can work on that on yourself, right? Or the funny stuff, the things that make you laugh, but you wish things were different, and it could be, and you can work on that. But the stuff that might be more traumatic, your subconscious is it might give you the outer layer.
Yes.
But we work on trauma like we work on peeling an onion one layer at a time.
Yes.
As it is safe to do it.
Yes.
You don't just rip it apart, right?
No.
Well, some people want what you alluded to earlier, the world we live in now, everything is give it to me now, do it, one session, one and done.
I call it a drive-through society.
Yeah, I call it fix me. People come and say, fix me, So
and right now, do it right now.
Exactly.
I need you to get it done in 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, and I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah. So with trauma, it's better to have an experienced person working with you.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And this is not from a medical point of view, because you've already done all the medical stuff, you're on your medications, you're doing what you need to do there, but you're not getting relief, find an energy healer who can work in tandem, right?
Yes.
Not getting in the middle of any of your medical stuff, but there may be
Right.
some other things that the energy person can do. And occasionally you'll go back to your doctor to maybe adjust your medication down.
Yes.
Maybe not, but that's been my experience.
Yes.
You know, I just make sure that the client is in touch with their physician, especially when they start to notice weird things that maybe their dosage is now too high.
Yeah.
Or they go from 5 medications to 3 medications or whatever it is.
Yes.
But I don't get in the middle of that because I'm not a medical professional at all.
Right. Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So I don't want anybody to think I have anything to do with the medical world, because I don't. That's not my background.
Yes.
I just work with whatever emotional stuff you've been holding on to that no longer serves you. It's like carrying baggage around, you know? Put down the suitcase. Put down the suitcase. You'll lose probably 50 pounds just by putting down the suitcase, right?
I was gonna say, a common analogy that I use a lot of times is because I was raised in the church, Pentecostal. And so people would come to the altar and they would come to the altar with all this stuff, and they get on their knees and they just start praying to God, Jesus, and calling them, whatever they do. And they lay their bag of, shit down. And then they get up and they pick that same bag up and just walk out. And that is so common, the same way. It's like, but you didn't you want to get rid of that? I mean, isn't that why you're here praying? No, how does that work? But it's the same, I noticed, in this world as well. It's like, yeah, no. I mean, I thought we were working on that. I thought we were, we got to the root of it and we see where it came from. So, let it go. Release it, release it.
Yeah,
So
I
what
have
do you, okay.
I have some clients who, for the most part, I give very little information about what I released. I'll give it in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have some clients who want to know more details and more details. And I'm like, yeah, so you realize that your imagination is going to recreate those experiences and those emotions. Just like when you go to a movie theater,
Mm-hmm.
you're not in those events, but you're watching them and you're getting drawn in, and your imagination puts you in that event.
Yes.
You experience the emotions just like you were there.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave the theater, you've experienced all that just like you were in that scene in real
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And so if I give them too much information, they're going to go back and relive the event and recreate emotions. Now, not to the extent that it was, because memory is an interesting thing, but your body doesn't know the difference between reality and
Yes.
imagination.
Yes. Yes.
So as you imagine that again, trying to figure out all the nuances, you recreate.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would I spend all this time? You spend all this money allowing this to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then you build it back up to review it or analyze it. There's nothing to analyze. We let it go. You lived it once. You don't need to live it over and over and over. That's where the stress is coming in on your body.
Yeah.
You don't need that. We need to allow that stress to leave.
Yes.
Right?
So now, I have a question. What is your view on past life stuff?
Okay. I was raised Baptist.
Okay. So you and I, yeah.
So there's that. I'm very intuitive, and that's an energy word, but that just means in English that thoughts come into my head for a reason.
Yes.
And I've learned to trust whatever information I'm given.
I
So
love
when I
that
work with
definition.
clients, sometimes things come into my head. Okay. I make no judgments about whatever comes in. I have clients from all walks of life. I have clients with, I'll say parents in particular, sometimes children, who are no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
But thoughts come into my head, and I have to say whatever thoughts come into my head.
Yes.
Okay. I have some clients who routinely ask me if someone is here or if someone is there. And I have to just speak whatever is true.
So, yes.
I don't have to believe it. I don't have to understand it. I just have to state what is true.
Yes. Love it.
So that's all I can say on that. You know, it's not my place to sway anybody one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It was when I got into energy work, that was one of the challenges, because I was raised Southern Baptist. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Southern Pentecostal holiness. I know.
yeah.
Yes.
So that is not a conversation that is even considered worth having. Right.
Girl, you know that was the devil.
On the other hand, my mother, who everybody loved, and she could quote the Bible. She was like a Bible scholar,
Mm-hmm.
even though she wasn't, you know, but
Yeah.
she could teach the most in-depth theological type classes on the Bible. She was that good. But occasionally she would come to me and she would say, I just need to tell somebody this. And she would say something, and then it would be in the news 2 days later.
Mm-hmm. So she was hella intuitive and gifted as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a connection that happens between people that we call cording in the energy world, like there's a cord between us now because we're communicating, right?
Yes. Yes.
And once we're finished, the cord will drop, just like a telephone cord, just like
yes.
when you're on your cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
you've got a cord attached, an energetic cord
Yes.
between your cell phone and somebody else's cell phone, not a real
Yes.
one, but you know, the frequency is going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing happens a lot with mothers and their children. They'll know something is wrong when they're nowhere near their child, right? Because of the energy that's moving through the cord, and as the child gets upset or shocked or injured, the mother feels a change in the frequency of the cord.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And knows something isn't right.
Yes.
So she was very intuitive that way, not only with her children, but with people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I grew up with this awareness that didn't really fit the religion part of the world. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it does fit life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't cut off anything. It doesn't change my beliefs about things. I never tell people what my beliefs are, because as I'm introduced to new facts, not thoughts, facts, my opinions of things may be forced to shift.
Yes.
Right? One thing I do tell people all the time is you spoke about beliefs, limiting beliefs in particular.
Yes.
A belief is based on thought.
Mm-hmm.
Typically not based on fact, but based on your thoughts about something.
Right.
Right? But if that thought is no longer, or that belief is no longer serving you, thoughts can be changed.
Yes.
You just have to decide that you are going to change a specific thought that no longer serves you, or a belief that no longer serves you. Yes. Words are very powerful. The words we say inside our head and the words that come out of our mouth.
Yes.
So awareness, focus, and action is what I push. Become aware of where you are and where you want to be.
That.
Be very focused, very clear on what you want. And then we'll take strategic action to get you from where you are to where you want to be. That's it. That's just, it's 3 steps: awareness, focus, action. You get that, you're good to go. But thoughts are just thoughts, and they can be changed.
You know, Abraham Hicks says that beliefs are just thoughts you keep thinking. And I was like, wow, that's so simple.
And the more you repeat them, the bigger they get in your head.
Yes.
Whether they're true or not, whether they're factual or not.
I've seen that so much, just like, oh my God, what is this even about? But yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, this has been so amazing. So we're going to land this plane. But I want,
cool.
But I want to ask you, if there's one thing in the world that you could change, what would it be?
Only one.
Yeah.
This is an aspect of a bigger issue, but I think it's more controllable. So I'm going to say violence.
Yes.
Violence is a symptom of really negative things like hate, like feeling not powerful,
Yes.
like feeling not seen and not heard. But
Yes.
that can build up so much that violence feels like the only way to let people see me
Yeah.
and what should be.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to say
agree.
violence. It's not productive,
Mm-mm.
even if it is sometimes it's of the moment and it is not meant to create the damage that it creates. It's just a lack of control. But
Yeah.
again, that's part of a bigger issue.
Yeah. I agree
But
with
if we
that.
stop the violence, we stop the wars, we stop the domestic violence. That's a big one, right?
Oh, yes, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to stop the wars, because if you stop the wars, then how will they make any money?
That's hilarious. Yeah, I hear that one a lot.
But
Yeah,
the interesting question, and that's the first time I've heard that one, and I've heard a lot of them. But
well, a lot of it too is
interesting.
my background, right? I have such ties to the military and Department of Defense
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes violence, that's not it. Self-defense, physical self-defense
Yeah.
against violence, I guess, is where I think, I mean, it's sad that we have to think that way,
Yes, it is.
but nobody's perfect.
No. However, so let the people know where they can connect with you, or the best place to connect with you. And if you have any special offer or anything that you are putting out, you can share.
Oh, okay. Well, the easiest way to find me is just go to my website, jeanborder.com. That's the easiest. I also have multiple websites. I do have a podcast that if you're in business, you might be interested in that. It's how energy work impacts not only your life and the decisions you make in your personal life, but also it bleeds over into decisions you make in your business world.
Yes.
A lot of my clients are business clients, and I have a business background. I have 36 years of experience, so that comes into play as well.
Yes.
But we use energy techniques to clear blockages so that they can make clear strategic decisions and take actions to grow their business. So that's cool. But the podcast is the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey.
Nice.
Because we all have dreams,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be practical and you have to be focused on what you want.
Yes.
And then it's a journey to get there.
Yes.
So we help you through your journey. We're looking at obstacles and possible solutions, and you can hear what other people have experienced in their growth journey. Right?
Yes.
So for those of you who are dealing with like some trauma stuff, I'm not going to call it trauma because I'm not a medical professional, but if you feel like you've survived something or you're in the throes of surviving something, there is, I mentioned that the EFT tapping, right?
Yeah.
There's a program out there that I've got geared for survivors, and just go to jeanborder.com/survivor.
Nice.
And that'll get you there. It's 21 days of tapping.
Nice.
From being stuck in the past to moving into the present and then stepping into the future.
Love it. That is so powerful. Because I love solution-based healing. Because a friend of mine, a friend of mine, and I talked about therapy and how, it's almost moved to not really solving the problem, but just talking about the problem and talking about the problem and talking about the problem and talking about the problem. And, I don't know. I don't feel like it's helpful. I mean,
Well,
I
at
think
the end
that
of that, at the end of all that talking, what has changed? What is now different?
they made more money.
From the patient's perspective, maybe they know why it happened, or maybe they know if I've done this differently, that could be different. But in the present, what has actually changed?
I think.
In the future, what has changed? What is changing? So it's an exploration of the past. So you're looking at your history. And if that is your goal, is to look at your history, then yes, explore your history. But if your goal is to change your present and your future, talking about your history may not be the final answer.
Right. I love that. And I'm not bashing therapy. I'm not doing that because I've been, I just didn't feel like I should do it for 30 years. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Therapy is such a long, I've been in therapy for 2 years. Well, if you worked with an energy healer for 2 years, oh my gosh, the difference in your world versus just understanding your past. But maybe
Yes.
that's your focus, is understanding your past. And if that's all
Right.
you want, stick with the traditional, talking about the past.
Mm-hmm.
That
Exactly.
may be what you need. I don't know. I just live in a different world. That's all.
Exactly.
I live in the world of possibilities and opening up the world to a different outcome.
Yes, because that's what we need. Anyway. All right. So that could be a whole nother show.
Yeah. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
So I have truly enjoyed it, and I am hoping that everyone else enjoys it. And I know that they're going to get so much out of it, because this has been, I mean, more than I even thought. And I told you when we started that the show just goes where it goes,
Mm-hmm.
and it was awesome and amazing, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Cool.
So, thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. You've just heard our interview with Jean Borders. She was such an amazing, amazing guest. She talked all about energy and frequency. So make sure that you reach out to her if you are looking for someone to help you in those areas. She's an amazing healer. She actually healed herself from migraines. So make sure you reach out to her. And if you are a spiritual entrepreneur and you would like to come on my show and talk about it, Straight Outta Savannah, please reach out to me on whatever platform you are listening or watching this on. You can send me a message, definitely on Spotify. And if you are on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, you can send me a message in the DMs. So definitely make sure that you do that. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure that you are following us on the platform that you are listening to it. And make sure that you like, share, and subscribe if you are watching it on YouTube. And again, thank you so much for joining. Bye now.
I know you've been blown away with the amazing value here today. Now go out and inspire the planet. And be sure to send us a message when you're ready to come talk about it on Straight Outta Savannah, Talking with Tammi.